I was patrolling Yosemite National Park on a quiet autumn afternoon when I stumbled upon something that would change my life forever. As a park ranger, I had seen my fair share of strange things in the woods, but nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to discover. I had just finished a routine check of one of the hiking trails when I saw something poking out from the ground. Curiosity getting the better of me, I approached the object and realized with a shock that it was a bone. But it wasn't just any bone. It was huge, easily the size of my forearm. My mind raced as I tried to figure out what kind of animal could have had such a large bone. I followed the trail of bones, which led me deeper into the woods. As I walked, the bones became larger and more numerous until I finally reached a clearing. It was there that I saw it. A massive skeleton, easily 20 feet long, lay in front of me. The bones were old and weathered, but it was clear that they had once belonged to a creature of immense size. I was stunned. What kind of animal could have been this large? I had never seen anything like it before in my life. As I looked closer, I noticed something strange about the bones. There were strange markings etched into them, almost like a language. I couldn't make sense of them, but they gave me an eerie feeling, as if they were trying to tell me something. I knew that I had to report this discovery to my superiors, so I quickly took photos of the skeleton and sent them to the park's archaeologist. He was just as stunned as I was and immediately came to investigate. Over the next few weeks, a team of experts descended upon the site, eager to unravel the mystery of the massive skeleton. They examined the bones carefully, taking measurements and conducting tests. As they worked, I couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement building inside of me. Something incredible was happening right before my eyes. It wasn't until the lead archaeologist approached me with a strange look on his face that I realized just how incredible this discovery truly was. "Ranger, I need to speak with you," he said, pulling me aside. "What is it?" I asked, feeling a sense of dread creeping over me. "We've done some tests on the bones," he said slowly, "and the results are shocking." "What do you mean?" I asked, feeling my heart racing. "The bones are ancient," he said, "far older than anything we've ever seen before, and the creature they belong to, well, let's just say it's not something that should exist in our time." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The archaeologist went on to explain that the markings on the bones were a language used by an ancient civilization that had long since disappeared. They had recorded their encounters with the creature, which they called the Beast of the Earth. As I listened to him speak, a chill ran down my spine. I realized that I had stumbled upon something truly paranormal, something that defied all explanation. Over the next few months, the park was inundated with scientists and researchers eager to study the skeleton. They conducted all sorts of tests and experiments, but nothing could explain the sheer size and age of the creature. It was as if it had come from another time altogether. As for me, I couldn't stop thinking about the creature. I felt as if it was calling out to me, urging me to uncover the truth behind its existence. One night, I decided to take a walk in the woods. I felt drawn to the spot where I had first discovered the skeleton. As I walked, I felt a strange energy pulsing. As I walked, I felt a strange energy pulsing through the air, a feeling that I couldn't quite explain. It was as if something was watching me, waiting for me. As I reached the clearing where the massive skeleton lay, I stopped in my tracks. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up as I felt a presence around me. It was a feeling I couldn't quite describe, but it was definitely there. Suddenly I heard a sound. It was a low growl, like something was waking up from a long slumber. My heart raced as I realized that I was not alone. I turned around slowly, and that's when I saw it. A pair of glowing eyes peered at me from the darkness. They were unlike anything I had ever seen before, burning with a fierce intensity. I stumbled back in fear, not sure what to do. The eyes seemed to be coming closer, and I realized that whatever was behind them was not friendly. Just as I thought I was done for, I heard a familiar voice calling out to me. "Ranger, Ranger, are you all right?" It was one of my fellow park rangers who come to check up on me. The glowing eyes disappeared into the darkness as the ranger approached me. "What's going on here?" he asked, looking around. "I don't know," I said, my heart still pounding. "I thought I saw something paranormal." The ranger looked at me skeptically, but I could tell he was a bit uneasy. "Let's get out of here," he said. "This place gives me the creeps." As we left the clearing, I couldn't help but feel like I had just narrowly escaped something truly paranormal. Whatever was behind those glowing eyes, it was not of this world. In the weeks that followed, I couldn't shake the feeling that the massive skeleton was connected to the creature I had encountered. It was as if they were somehow linked, and I was determined to find out how. I threw myself into my work, exploring every inch of the park in search of answers. I talked to experts, read ancient texts, and searched for clues wherever I could find them. And then, one day, I stumbled upon a discovery that changed everything. Deep in the woods, I found a cave hidden away from the rest of the world. It was unlike anything I had ever seen before, with strange markings etched into the walls and a feeling of otherworldliness about it. As I explored the cave, I came across something that made my heart skip a beat. A piece of paper lay on the ground, covered in writing that I couldn't quite decipher. But as I looked closer, I realized that the markings were the same as the ones on the massive skeleton. I couldn't believe it. I had found a link between the two, a clue that could help me unravel the mystery of the creature once and for all. Over the next few weeks, I pored over the paper, studying it intently. I slowly pieced together the story of the creature, of its long journey through time and space, and of the ancient civilization that had encountered it so many centuries ago. And then, finally, I understood. The creature was not of this world. It was a being that had traveled through the cosmos, a remnant of a time long forgotten, and the massive skeleton was its earthly vessel, left behind as a reminder of its existence. As I finished reading the paper, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I had uncovered a mystery that had haunted me for so long, and in doing so, I had come to understand something truly paranormal. I knew that I would never forget the creature, or the skeleton, or the strange markings, but my understanding of the paranormal was far from complete. As I continued to work as a park ranger, I found myself encountering more and more unexplainable phenomena. One night, as I was patrolling the park, I saw a strange light in the distance. It was a pulsating glow, hovering just above the trees. As I approached, the light began to grow in intensity, and I realized that it was not of this world. I felt a sense of awe and wonder wash over me as I watched the light dance in the darkness. It was as if I was witnessing something truly magical, something that defied explanation. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the light disappeared. I was left standing in the darkness, my heart racing with excitement and fear. As I made my way back to the park headquarters, I couldn't help but think about what I had just witnessed. Was it a UFO, an alien spacecraft, or was it something else entirely, something beyond my understanding? Over the years, I encountered more and more paranormal phenomena in the park. I saw strange creatures, heard eerie noises, and felt unexplainable presence all around me. Each encounter left me with more questions than answers, but I never lost my sense of wonder and curiosity. As I grew older, I realized that my experiences as a park ranger had given me a unique perspective on the paranormal. I had seen things that most people could only imagine, and I had come to understand that there was much more to the world than we could ever hope to comprehend. And so I continued to work as a park ranger, always keeping an open mind and a watchful eye. I knew that the paranormal was out there, waiting to be discovered, and I was determined to find it. Years later, as I lay on my deathbed, I thought back on my life as a park ranger. I had seen and experienced things that few people could ever imagine, and I knew that I had lived a truly extraordinary life. As I closed my eyes for the final time, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I knew that the mysteries of the paranormal would continue to intrigue and fascinate people long after I was gone, but I also knew that I had played a small part in uncovering some of those mysteries. And as I slipped into the great unknown, I knew that my journey was far from over. There was still so much to discover, so much to explore, so much to understand about the world beyond our understanding. And I knew that I would always be a part of that great journey, forever bound to the mysteries of the paranormal. I'm a park ranger at Yosemite National Park, and I've seen some strange things in my time here, but nothing quite prepared me for what I encountered one dark and stormy night. It was late, and I was on my usual patrol when I heard a rustling in the bushes. At first, I thought it was just a bear or a deer, but as I got closer, I realized that it was something far more sinister. There, emerging from the shadows, was a creature unlike anything I had ever seen before. It stood nearly 8 feet tall, with long, razor-sharp claws and glowing red eyes that seemed to pierce my very soul. I froze in terror as the creature approached me, its massive jaws opening wide as if to devour me whole. I knew I had to act fast if I was going to survive this encounter. Without thinking, I drew my gun and fired, but the bullets seemed to have no effect on the creature. It simply laughed in my face, its eyes glowing brighter with each passing moment. I backed away slowly, trying to keep my distance from the creature, but it was no use. It was too fast, too strong, and too powerful for me to defeat on my own. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the creature vanished into thin air, leaving me standing there alone in the darkness. I was left to wonder whether what I had seen was real or just a figment of my imagination, but deep down, I knew that it was all too real. The creature had been there, and it had meant me harm. Over the next few weeks, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I felt a presence around me at all times, as if the creature was still lurking in the shadows, waiting for its chance to strike. And then, one night, as I was patrolling the park, I saw it again. The creature was back, and it was more terrifying than ever. This time, however, I was not alone. A group of hikers had stumbled upon the creature as well, and they were just as terrified as I was. Together, we stood our ground, determined to face the creature head-on. We knew that we had no chance of defeating it, but we were determined to at least try. As the creature approached, we drew our weapons and prepared to fight. But just as it seemed like all hope was lost, a strange light appeared in the sky. The creature turned its attention to the light, and we took our chance to escape. As we ran, we heard a deafening roar, and the ground beneath us shook with the force of the creature's anger. We never looked back, but we knew that the creature had been defeated. Whatever the strange light was, it had saved us from certain doom. In the days and weeks that followed, we tried to make sense of what had happened, but the truth was that we would never fully understand the paranormal forces that were at play in Yosemite National Park. All we knew was that we had survived an encounter with one of the most terrifying creatures ever to walk the earth, and that we had been forever changed by the experience. As for me, I continued to work as a park ranger, always keeping an eye out for any signs of the paranormal. I knew that there was still so much to discover, so many mysteries waiting to be uncovered, and while I may never fully understand the strange and mysterious world that exists beyond our own, I will always be grateful for the experiences that I had as a park ranger at Yosemite National Park. I was a police officer working at Sheriff County, a small town nestled deep in the heart of the forest. It was a quiet and peaceful place where nothing out of the ordinary ever happened, or so I thought. One night, while patrolling the area, I saw something that made my blood run cold. It was a strange creature, unlike anything I had ever seen before. It was tall, with long, spindly arms and legs, and a head that was too big for its body. Its eyes were large and black, and they seemed to glow in the dark. At first, I thought it was just my imagination playing tricks on me, but as I got closer, I realized that this creature was very real. It was walking on 2 legs, just like a human, but it had an otherworldly quality about it that was hard to describe. I immediately radioed for backup, but no one else was in the area. I felt alone and vulnerable, and I knew that I had to keep my wits about me if I was going to survive this encounter. As I watched the creature, I noticed that it was moving with purpose. It wasn't just wandering aimlessly. It seemed to be searching for something. And then, out of nowhere, it stopped and turned to face me. I could feel its gaze on me, and I knew that it was sizing me up, trying to decide whether I was a threat or not. I stood frozen, not knowing what to do, and then, suddenly, it lunged at me. I barely had time to react, but I managed to dodge out of the way just in time. The creature was fast, much faster than any human could ever be. It had an inhuman strength, too, and I knew that I was no match for it. I tried to radio for backup again, but all I heard was static. It was as if the creature was interfering with the radio signal. I was on my own. For what seemed like an eternity, the creature and I circled each other, each one waiting for the other to make a move. I could hear it breathing heavily, and I could see the saliva dripping from its jaws, and then suddenly it stopped. It cocked its head to one side as if listening for something. I could hear it too, the sound of something moving in the woods. It was a low growl, and it was getting louder by the second. The creature turned and ran off into the darkness, leaving me standing there alone and bewildered. I knew that I had to get out of there, and fast. I ran back to my car, jumped in, and sped away as fast as I could. I didn't look back until I was well out of the area, and even then I could still feel the creature's presence, lurking in the shadows. When I got back to the station, I was shaking and covered in sweat. I tried to tell my colleagues what had happened, but they just looked at me like I was crazy. They didn't believe in the paranormal, and they certainly didn't believe that I had seen a creature that couldn't possibly exist. But I knew what I had seen, and I knew that I had to find out more. Over the next few weeks, I became obsessed with the creature. I scoured the internet for any information I could find, and I talked to anyone who would listen. I even went back to the woods, hoping to find some trace of the creature. And then one day, I got a break. A group of hikers had reported seeing something strange in the same area where I had my encounter. They described the creature in the same detail as I had, and they even continued to describe its eerie behavior. With this new information, I decided to investigate further. I reached out to the hikers and organized a search party to explore the area where the creature had been spotted. We set out early in the morning, armed with cameras, binoculars, and any other tools we thought might help us in our search. As we hiked through the forest, we came across several strange tracks in the mud. They were large and circular, with claw-like imprints. It was unlike anything I had ever seen before, and it only fueled my curiosity. We followed the tracks deeper into the woods until we came to a clearing. There, in the center of the clearing, stood a small cabin. It looked abandoned, with weeds and vines growing up the sides and the windows boarded up. As we approached the cabin, we heard strange noises coming from inside. It sounded like something was moving around, but it was too dark to see inside. We cautiously approached the door and pushed it open. Inside, the cabin was in disarray. There were broken chairs and tables and papers scattered all over the floor. It was clear that someone had been living there, but there was no one in sight. And then, suddenly, we heard a rustling noise coming from the back of the cabin. We cautiously approached the noise, and as we turned the corner, we saw the creature. It was hunched over a pile of papers, examining them with interest. It looked up as it heard us approach, and for a moment we stood there in silence, staring at each other. And then the creature lunged at us. We ran out of the cabin as fast as we could, with the creature hot on our heels. We could hear it breathing heavily, and we could feel the ground shaking as it ran behind us. As we emerged from the clearing, we saw a group of park rangers approaching. They had heard the commotion and had come to investigate. We told them about our encounter with the creature, and they listened with interest. They agreed to help us search the area, and we spent the rest of the day combing through the woods, looking for any sign of the creature, but it was nowhere to be found. As the sun began to set, we called off the search and returned to the cabin. We examined the papers that the creature had been looking at, and we realized that they were maps of the area. They were marked with strange symbols and coordinates that we couldn't decipher. We knew that we had stumbled upon something big, something that could change the way we thought about the world, and we knew that we couldn't give up until we had uncovered the truth about the creature and its mysterious origins.